Some say fall is for bonfires, for pumpkin spice, for long walks through crisp leaves and fading daylight. But not here. No, here, where the air bends and something waits in the fields. We celebrate fall the way it's meant to be remembered. Tonight, the leaves don't crunch under your boots. They crunch under something else. You're listening to Past the Pumpkin's Glow. And this is the season when the woods don't stay quiet. Welcome back to the dark. Before we take our first step into the black, a quick whisper for the living. Over 82% of you listening haven't subscribed yet. If you're loving these true-to-you horror stories, hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment below. It helps us reach more brave souls like yourself. All right, let's gaze past the pumpkin into our first submission. Some things call before they come, but not with words. They whoop. Here's one based on a true story by Center Star with They Whoop Before They Feed.
Camping used to be a regular thing for my family. My parents didn't think much of tossing us kids into tents, or hammocks in this case, while they stayed cozy in the pop-up camper. That's just how it was back then. Everyone roughing it, except for the adults. This trip, it was me and my cousins. 3 of us in hammocks, arranged like a triangle around the fire. My little brother got the camper. Lucky him. I tried to play it cool, but I'll be real with you, I was scared. Not scared of the woods or the dark, just that specific kind of scared where you're too proud to admit you're uncomfortable, so you stay up all night tossing more wood onto the fire just to keep the world lit. Eventually, I dozed off. And then I heard the scream. Downhill, maybe 100 yards out. Blood curdling doesn't even cover it. Something was being ripped apart. You could hear the coyotes snarling, tearing into it. But the whoop? Those didn't belong to any coyote I've ever heard. It sounded like something was driving them, or calling them. Short, high-pitched whoops between the screaming, like something excited to watch. I slipped out of my hammock, slow and shaking, and fed the fire again. I just got the flames high, climbed back in, and laid there frozen. The screaming finally stopped, but the chewing didn't. The growling, the little snapping yipes when one coyote bit too hard or took too much. It kept going, and those whoops didn't stop. And still, no one else woke up. Eventually, the bugs started humming again. Crickets, distant frogs, leaves shifting in the breeze. Nature's way of saying, whatever was out there isn't anymore. I must have passed out sometime after that. Next morning, I asked if anyone else had heard it. Everyone looked confused. My cousins laughed it off. My mom didn't. She looked at my dad and said, "We're done doing hammocks. That's it."
Coyotes, hammocks, and something laughing at the edge of the fire. Next time, maybe take the camper, but don't hang up your lanterns just yet, children of the glow. The dark isn't done. Because what waits behind the door might not be what knocks. Here's the only restless with "It waited by the door."
I don't think anything can prepare you to see something that shouldn't exist. I was 11, Northwest Ohio. Small town carved out of what used to be an oil field. The land had been chewed up and repurposed over and over. First industry, then a makeshift hospital, then finally a cul-de-sac of slapped-together houses. Ours backed up into this wide field, maybe an acre, with woods hugging both sides like crooked arms. You could get lost out there if you weren't careful. It was November, cold enough to sting your hands, but not enough to keep us inside. It was just me, my little brother, and our cousin. We were looking for this supposed waterfall a neighbor had told us about. No one knew if it even existed, but at that age, that was enough of a reason to spend the whole afternoon combing through tall grass and half-frozen brush like we were on some kind of expedition. I was a little ahead of the others when my foot sank into a small hole, probably something dug out by a mole. I cursed, brushed myself off, and turned to call out. And that's when I heard it. A snap. Not a stick-breaking snap, but like something appeared into this existence. A deliberate one. Sharp. Close. I looked back towards the trees. There was this black mass. I don't know how else to say it. It wasn't shaped like a bear or a person. It wasn't shaped like anything. It was a void standing up. And somehow it made the daylight around it look darker. Like it was eating the light. It stood exactly where I had just been earlier. Its head tilted like it was sniffing the air or trying to remember something. Then it locked eyes with me. Or what I assumed were eyes. It sprinted. I ran like I never have before in my life. Full speed, barefoot panic. Not even checking if the others were behind me. Just me and the thing. It didn't run at me. It ran to me. Half an acre between us, and it cleared the distance in seconds. I could hear it. Its footfalls didn't sound right. They weren't heavy, but they were fast. Gliding, slapping. When I hit the back porch, I nearly tore the door off its hinges getting inside. I slammed it shut, locked it, and just stood there gasping, like I'd surfaced from drowning. Outside the window it paced, back and forth. Not running anymore, just walking the yard with the wild frustration. Like a predator that had cornered something but couldn't break through the glass. I stood there frozen until it vanished. No wind, no sound. 1 second it was there, the next it wasn't. I thought that was it, that I was safe. I wasn't. Later that day, my dad went to put my baby sister down for a nap. I was in the living room, watching TV, monitor on the table. Just normal baby stuff, soft fussing, cooing sounds. Then it went dead silent. Like the signal was cut. A second later, the door to my dad's bedroom creaked open. Then it slammed. What followed wasn't random noise. It was fury. Something was banging on the walls, stomping the floor like it was trying to shake the house apart. It was angry, furious that it couldn't reach her. My dad ran up the stairs. I followed. The closet was wide open. Her bassinet's locking shaft had snapped off. Clothes and toys were scattered all over the room like something had tried to tear it apart from the inside. But the window was still shut, door locked. No signs of forced entry, no human explanation. That was the last time I saw the black shape. But that wasn't the end of things. It was the beginning.
If you're still breathing, take a second to like the video, subscribe to Past the Pumpkin's Glow, and tell us in the comments, what's the one fall moment that left your skin crawling? You can also follow us on Instagram at PTPGLOW Official for updates, art, and new story drops. And speaking of energy that doesn't quit, Frankenfuel, the only energy drink brewed posthumously, now finally restocked and ready to possess you. Get 15% off your first order with our link, frankenfuel.com/PTPG. And follow the abominations over at Frankenfuel on Instagram. All right, hydrate with caution. Let's head into the woods now, where ropes hang without branches, and where some things don't just float, they wait. Submitted by Andrea Dean van Scoyoc. This one's called The Rope Floats Where They Hung Him.
This story came from my husband. He didn't tell me about it for years. Not until after his brother finally admitted he remembered it the same way. Both of them were there. Both of them saw it. My husband's family helped settle the Clearwater area in Florida. That's not just a fun fact. Their last names on road signs, plaques, even a little park off the highway. His family built up pieces of that town with their bare hands. And because of that, they always treated the woods like they still owned them. Back then, it was common for them to go deep into the wild patches to camp. These weren't public campgrounds. No outhouses, no maps. Just land his great-grandfather used to hunt on, back when it was all swampland and cypress. Strangely, they got lost almost immediately. Every path looked the same, the air went still, and somehow they managed to lose all sense of direction even though they hadn't gone far. They tried to backtrack, but it felt like the woods weren't letting them. They'd slipped into the part of the forest no one was supposed to find again. Then they saw it. A noose. Not just a rope, a noose. Tight, rough, thick, hanging mid-air. It wasn't tied to anything. No branch above, no second tree, just 6 feet of rope, floating perfectly vertical in open space, swaying slightly in the air that wasn't moving. They stopped breathing. My husband told me it looked fresh. Not new, but used. The loop wasn't big enough for an adult, and that's what unsettled them most. The dirt beneath it wasn't wild or soft. It was packed flat, like teeth had been swung above it, like something had hung there and fought for longer than it should have. They turned and ran. Didn't acknowledge what they saw. They didn't confirm. They didn't even talk. They just ran. No, did you see that? No, what the hell was that? Refusing to look back towards the trees. Because when you both run at the same time without speaking, you already know the other one saw it too. Though it wasn't until years later, well into adulthood, well into marriage, that my husband finally brought it up to his brother during a family event. Quietly, carefully, as if just saying it might bring it back, but finally confirmation. They never figured out how it hung there. Both said the same thing about it. It didn't feel like something left behind, but rather, something waiting to be used again.
You don't have to find a body to feel haunted. That rope still sways, but only if you know when to look. Now, let's close out our autumn walk with something that doesn't chase you. It just walks. Every fall. Alan Erick Bermúdez brings us the final tale tonight. Every autumn.
I don't usually scare easily. That's not bravado, just how I'm wired. I've had a few weird things happen over the years. Odd noises, shadows in corners, but none, if ever, got under my skin. If something doesn't want to be seen or felt, I figure it'll just keep to itself. That's how it's always been. Until I moved to Cedar Hill. We bought the house about 5 years ago. 2-story, nice backyard, quiet neighborhood pressed up against an old farmstead that's been here forever. Still has rusted out fencing half sunk into the ground and a lone metal shack just barely standing out in the tree line, like it belongs to another time. Honestly, it's a beautiful spot. But every fall, without fail, something walks the perimeter. It doesn't run, doesn't stomp, it stalks. And you hear it, plain as day, after 2 a.m., starting sometime in early October and disappearing before Thanksgiving. The first time this happened, I thought it was an animal, maybe a drunk neighbor cutting through our yard. But it had a gait, 2 legs, heavy enough to crunch the leaves, soft enough to sound human. I sleep with the window cracked open, always have. The weird part is this. If the window is cracked just a little, you won't hear anything. But if it's open all the way, it'll catch every single footfall. I mean, it sounds basic, but it's strange that you don't hear anything with the window cracked. Like it's pacing just outside the thin veil of air, and anything between you and it muffles the sound completely. Our dogs hate the backyard in the fall. They stick to the patio or the sidewalk, won't even sniff the grass. They hear it as well, but they haven't barked at it since the first time either. Back when I opened the gate, like whatever they saw taught them better. I was out back late one night smoking. Dogs came with me, they froze. Then both started barking like crazy in the corner near the fence. One corner, over and over. I didn't see anything. My wife came out with the pistol, just in case. I peeked through the slats. Nothing. I slowly unlatched the gate, eased it open maybe 6 inches, and at that exact second the dogs went dead silent and ran back inside. I don't mean wandered, they just bolted, just gone. And outside, not even the neighbors' wind chimes, like the world hit pause. You'd think I'd be rattled, but I wasn't. I wasn't scared. I couldn't explain it, but it didn't feel threatening at first. Every year after, like clockwork, the steps return. Always the same time. I'm the only one in the house who hears it. My wife doesn't, but the dogs know. They always know. We are devout Catholics, but I've never done a blessing on the property. It didn't feel necessary. The thing, whatever it is, never tried to get inside. It never scratched the walls, never whispered, watched maybe. I started thinking maybe it belonged here. I started looking into the land. There's a lot of Native American history in this part of Texas. Cedar Hill has its stories, but nothing definitive. Still, I never felt like it was a skinwalker or anything like that. Nothing felt malicious until this fall. There's that metal shack next to the old farm, maybe 100 yards from our fence, rusted shut, half collapsed. I pass it when I jog sometimes. A few weeks ago, something told me I should take a picture of it. Don't know why, just one of those passing impulses. Maybe I thought I'd find something later in the photo. Or maybe I wanted to prove to myself that it was just a shack. So I stopped, pulled out my phone, and the second that I touched it, I felt this heat. Not temperature-wise, fear, like a warning pressed down behind my ribs. My brain just locked up, like something inside me screamed, "Don't." It wasn't paranoia. I'm sensitive to things. It's not a gift I asked for. In that moment, that was survival-level fear. No shape, no reason, just don't. I didn't take the picture. Walked straight home. My friend down the street says his doors slam open and shut some nights with no wind. His wife thinks he's losing it. But I don't think so, not anymore. Before we bought this place, I lived in an apartment also in Cedar Hill. I woke up once to something touching my knee. Looked up, saw a black cloud hanging in the corner of my room. It didn't move, it didn't speak. I didn't feel afraid. Not that time either. But now that I'm thinking, if it didn't want to be seen, is this the same entity? And if so, why does it come back every year? And why is it following me?
It's the silence that gets you, isn't it? That cold certainty that something's out there, just beyond the fence, just outside the window. Thank you for joining us on this chilly little stroll through the woods. Like, comment, and subscribe to help us keep the lanterns burning here in the dark. Follow us on Instagram at PTPGLOW Official. And don't forget, Frankenfuel's back from the grave at frankenfuel.com/PTPG. We'll be watching. Join us next week to peer past the pumpkin's glow.